Hello and welcome to everybody on Cloud Fitness. So in today's video, we are going to understand what is Lakehouse Federation in Databricks, why do we use Lakehouse Federation, what are the benefits of using Lakehouse Federation, and we are also going to implement and see how we can utilize it with Snowflake Data Warehouse. So let's move ahead. When you talk about Lakehouse Federation, it is a query federation engine. Okay, so whenever you have this term, whenever you hear this term anywhere, it's nothing but it's a query federation engine. It's a query federation platform for Databricks. This term query federation describes the collection of features that enable users and systems to run query against multiple data sources without needing them to migrate all the data to the unified system. So understand it in this way. In the concept of Lakehouse Federation is that, hey, I am in the Databricks. I'll directly query the system that you have connected to. So, for example, in this video, we are going to take the example of Snowflake. So now I have my Snowflake data warehouse. If I want to query anything from which is present inside my Snowflake data warehouse, any table that is present inside my Snowflake data warehouse, if I want to query it, I can query it within the Databricks. I can actually query it in the Databricks, but what is exactly happening? It is going and pointing to the data warehouse. It is using the warehouse. It is using the compute of Snowflake, and then it is querying the data. So that is what the Lakehouse Federation is all about. So you're not migrating the data. If I have table A in the Snowflake, I am not migrating the data from Snowflake into the Databricks and then querying it. Instead, I am just doing a Lakehouse Federation in which I am pointing to the Snowflake. I'm using Snowflake compute and I'm querying the data. Okay, so Databricks uses Unity Catalog to manage the query federation. So you need to make sure that Unity Catalog is enabled on your Databricks workspace. So that is mandatory. So right now, almost all of the features are available with the Unity Catalog in the Databricks. So in case you have not watched my series on Unity Catalog, I do recommend watching it because all the new features that are coming in the Databricks, they do not work without Unity Catalog. So even this query federation works with the Unity Catalog. So we configure read-only connections to popular database solution using drivers that are included on PostgreSQL Warehouse, Serverless SQL Warehouse, and the Databricks runtime clusters. So basically, you will actually see now how do we federate it all. So there is a connection that we built. Okay, so if I have Snowflake, I go and I build a connection to the Snowflake in my Databricks within the Unity catalog. So Unity catalogs data governance and the data lineage tools ensures that the data access is managed, audited for all federated queries by all audited for all federated queries made by users in your Databricks workspace. So even it is UC managed. When I say it's UC managed, even your data governance part is completely taken care of by the Unity catalog. So you do not need to worry much about the access part of it. Okay, it helps with the enhanced performance. So now understand how does it help. It is helping you with the enhanced performance because there is no workload that you have. You're not ingesting the data from Snowflake, for example, in this case, or SQL Server. You're not ingesting the data from there into the Databricks. You're just directly querying it. So there is no, pipeline that you have built, or there's no ingestion pipeline. At the same time, it is cost efficient. Okay, because you might not want to run a query in the Databricks, but you might want to run it in the in another platform which you understand that okay, this is less cheaper. Okay, this is little cheaper than the Databricks. So in that aspect also it is cost efficient, and at the same time you are not creating a new ingestion pipeline which eventually adds up to the cost as well as the efficiency reduces, right? So there is a seamless integration. Now once we do that, you will understand how seamless it is to integrate. Of course, the security, scalability, and flexibility, all three conditions are very well met with the Lakehouse Federation. So typically in which cases you are going to use do Lakehouse Federation. So whenever you don't want to ingest the data into the Databricks, you want to do any kind of ad hoc reporting, any kind of POC work where you don't want to ingest the data because you might not be using it later on, for any major purposes, but you want to check You want to have a POC done on that particular data set, or any ad hoc reporting needs to be done, or in the exploratory phase of the new ETL pipeline. So when you're exploring something, you want to check it out, how does it work? In that case, typically a part of POC itself. Similarly, supporting workloads during incremental migration. So in any of these cases, we might want to use Lakehouse Federation. So, or in the cases where you do not want your queries to take advantage, where you want your queries to take advantage of the compute which is in the external database system. That's exactly what I told you a few minutes back, that you might think that, okay, in this particular platform, if I query, okay, my queries are a bit cheaper. Okay, my compute is less costly. So in that case, you might not want to query, ingest the data or query it within the database. So in that case also it's helpful. And apart from that, obviously, when you have Lakehouse federated within the Unity catalog, you can take advantage of Unity catalog interfaces, its data governance, including fine-grained access control, data lineage, and search. So if you're aware about Unity catalog, okay, so all the features of the Unity catalog will be applicable to your Lakehouse federation as well. So you will be able to by default utilize them. That is what Lakehouse Federation is useful for, is beneficial for, and these are the cases where you can actually use it. Similarly, Lakehouse Federation setup. Okay, so now how do you set it up? We are going to see it, in the hands-on as well. But yeah, what are the different data sources that are supporting Lakehouse Federation right now? So if you see right now, your MySQL, PostgreSQL, Amazon Redshift, Snowflake Data Cloud, Salesforce Data Cloud, Snowflake, Microsoft SQL Server, Google BigQuery, Azure Synapse, or Databricks itself. All these sources will help you. You can actually integrate them with the Lakehouse Federation feature. So right now, what we will do is we are going to go back to the Databricks workspace, and then this is where I am in my catalog. So the moment I click on catalog, I have these catalogs. If I click on this plus option over here, you will see add a connection. So this is where you go and add a federated connection. So click on add a connection, and then it will ask you for a connection name, right? So let me say Snowflake connection. And then it is also going to ask you for the connection type. Now, if you see, these are the exact sources through which you can actually federate within the Unity catalog. So this is what I have mentioned just now in the previous PPT as well. So if you see, Snowflake is part of it. If you want to ingest the data from Databricks, Synapse, Redshift, Google BigQuery, Hive Metastore, all of this you can do. And for now, in our case, we are going to choose Snowflake. So the moment I click on Snowflake, it is asking you for authentication type. So right now I'm going to use username and password because that is what I have. I have not set up OAuth right now. But if you guys have OAuth, you can use OAuth token as well to do the connection. So it's more of like when you're trying to enter into someone's house, right? You need to have some authority, right? In the similar way, when we are trying to connect to the Snowflake, I need to have some kind of username or password set up to authenticate. Now, if I click on the next option over here, it is going to ask me for the host, port, user, and the password. So host, if you see host.domain.com. So if I go to my Snowflake account, so this is my Snowflake account, that is there. Let me click on the admin option, and then let me go to security. Let me go to accounts, and this is my account. If I click on here, I click on manage URL. This is where I have my entire URL. So I can simply copy my URL from here, and then I can simply paste my host and domain. This is what it is. Now, if you see the user, it is asking me to mention the user and the password. So let me put my username over here. This is my username. Let me put in my password as well. And let me click on next. And then It is asking you for Snowflake warehouse. So basically what I told you is that the query that you run that eventually is running on the compute of the uh, on the second compute, right, on the source compute. So here right now the source compute will be your Snowflake warehouse. So if I go here, you will actually see that the warehouses, right? So this is where your Snowflake query runs. So it is asking you on which warehouse do you want to run your queries. So this is the warehouse. I'll just simply copy the name. So it is compute WH, where I want to run my queries. And then coming on to the Snowflake role. So right now let me mention it as an admin because I'm an admin, and simply click on create connection. So the moment I do that, now you understand it is asking me, it has already got the connection details. Now it is asking me, hey, which database do you want to connect? Right now, if I go back, I have a database called as Cloud Fitness that I have created here. Inside it, I have public schema. Inside it, I have already created a sample data table. So I want to connect to my Cloud Fitness. This is my database which I want to connect. So what I'll do here is I'll simply say Cloud Fitness, right? This is the database I want to connect. Now simply I'll click on test connection. Now when I'm trying to test the connection, okay, to test the connection I have to use my compute, just to check whether this connection is working or not. Apart from that, there is no other use. You can test it on serverless, or you can also test it on your cluster, both. Now I'll simply click on test. And now the moment I click on test, it is going to verify my credentials. It is going to authenticate. It is going to understand that, hey, whether the connection was established or not. So now let me look at it. Your request failed with the status that, okay, role admin specified in the connection string does not exist or authorize. Okay, let me check the role. Let me go back. So what it is saying me is that my role that I entered is wrong. So let me go back. And here is the Snowflake role. So let me quickly check in the role over here. So if you see, it's not admin, it's account admin. So let me simply copy it, copy my role from here and add my role as account admin. Now I'll click on update connection, and then I'll simply go back and say, hey, test my connection again. So right now what I'm doing is I'm testing my connection. So now you can see that what it has said is the provided connection information with the database Cloud Fitness has been verified and can successfully connect to your external data source. You can proceed with creating a foreign catalog. Okay, so let's simply click on close and simply click on create catalog. Now it has verified my connection with the Snowflake and it is saying, hey, go ahead and you can access the data. So now, of course, if you want to choose a group or a particular user to be the owner, you can do that. I have chosen my user right now, and this is all about the access. By default, all account users, they should have, not they should have, but yeah, it depends on how you want to enable it. Browse privileges helps everybody to select whosoever is the principal. It can be a user, it can be a group. By default, they will have select privileges. And now if I click on next, and I can click on key and value. Now this key and value is nothing, but this is just a tag that you can add. So for example, I can say, hey, my environment tag should be, let's say if you're working in an organization, you can say production, for example, this is my environment, or you can tag the project to be a specific value that, hey, this is my project ABC related stuff. This helps you in, governance and as well as understanding the cost. So let me click on save. So the moment I do that, you can see what has happened here. Snowflake connection catalog. This has come up. So we have created this Snowflake connection. We have created this, we have gone to this plus option over here. We have created the connection. We have provided all these details, and that's when I have my the federated schema appearing here. Now, if I click on the public, now similar to my Snowflake, you can also see the sample data is available. Sample data is what? Sample data is nothing, but it is the table that I want to access, right? So similarly, just like this, you can see I have my entire, database that I wanted to access available here. So this is how my sample data looks like that I have got from the Snowflake. Now I can actually query it. And remember that these are all read-onlys, of course. You can read them. And similarly, if you see the type, it says foreign, right? And it has access to everything about the Unity catalog. If you want to see the lineage graphs, everything is available. If I go to the catalog by default itself, so you can see the type is foreign and you can see the Snowflake connection. If I click on it, this is the connection that we have established as well, right? And if you want to give permissions to specific set of users, you can. And let me go back to this. And similarly, if you see, if you want to grant privileges to somebody, to a particular group of users or a user, you can simply use this grant option here to give the access to this particular catalog. And similarly, the tags that we defined, environment, production, this is how you can use this as well. Now if I go to my query editor, okay, so let's say I want to use this, I'm just doing some analysis and I wanted to use the data which is present in the Snowflake. So what I've done, I came here, I created a connection, and now I want to use this data. Now how do I go about it? So if you see this Snowflake connection, and let me just paste this query. So what I can do is I can use it directly, and apart from that I can also create a materialized view. So let me say create materialized view XYZ from, now let me put my table name over here. So this is my table name, and let me simply run it. So what is exactly happening when I'm saying create materialized view XYZ as select star from Snowflake? So what is exactly happening here? Let me mention where I want to create this view. Let me say main. Inside main, I want to create, no, let me use this sample. Let me use this particular catalog, sample data catalog underscore ext dot, let me say default. I want to create a view over here, and now let me run this. So you can see what exactly has happened is this particular materialized view has been created, which is nothing but which is your DLT itself, and it also says the operation was successfully executed. So now if I go to my default catalog over here, you guys can refresh in case it's not reflecting, and you can see this materialized view has got created, and you can see even the icon that has changed. So if I go to this XYZ, right, in fact let me go to the catalog in another tab to show you guys how does this has worked. So you can in fact use this data as well. If I click on this XYZ, now you guys can see current refresh status. So what will happen is automatically, whenever there's a refresh that happens in the underlying table, automatically this will also get refreshed, or you can also schedule that particular refresh. Now if I click on the sample data, you will be able to see the same sample data as you saw in that particular table. So if you click on details, you can see that you have this materialized view also created. And similarly, again, if you guys want to see any lineage graph, so let me click on see lineage graph, and you will be able to see that Snowflake connection catalog.public sample data. Now here you can see that the Snowflake is the source from where you have taken this particular data, and then you have created a materialized view, right? So you have already done that, and it kind of shows you how many columns are also associated to it. So this is how powerful it is, and you can utilize it for a greater insights, and you can use this particular data in a very effective manner. Also remember that whatever query you have written over here, underlining, what happens is this query gets converted into a query which will be used by the Snowflake itself, like which can get queried on the Snowflake. So you're writing here on the Databricks, but eventually it's getting converted into a query which can be run on the Snowflake itself. So even if you come down, you can see definition, right? Create materialized view, default as year decimal. So it has created it, right? It redefines the query itself, and since it is a materialized view, it's nothing but it's a delta live table. So if you click on this see refresh details, then also you will see the entire graph. So this is where your materialized view is, and you can schedule it as well. And apart from that, even if you want to use this particular external table, or if you guys want to just do a simple join. So let's say if I want to say that, hey, select star from this and then join, select star from this particular table which I will be fetching from the Snowflake, and I want to join it with, let's say, my taxi table here. Or I think top baby names is the data set. Let me just check. So you can basically, what I'm trying to explain here is, let me first exactly check the data. Okay, so you can actually join it with any other table which might not be a federated source table, right? It's sitting in some other schema. So for example, this, and if you simply wants to join these two tables, okay, um let me say, I'm just using a random column. Okay, so this doesn't mean that uh, here I'm not trying to reference the data as such, but I hope you understand that I'm just trying to show you the use case here, how you can join these two data sets. So one data set you are actually getting from the Snowflake federated source, and then one you are joining with what is already present in your catalog. So even the queries like this also works, and you can fully utilize them. So now you can see what it has done. It has actually joined it, and any kind of you know queries that you want to file, you can file. Apart from that, if you want to check the query plans or how it is actually working, so if you click here in your SQL editor, then you can see the query profile completely, right? You can see the entire query profile. So if I click on see query profile, then you can see this whole detail, right, on how the query has been sampled. So if you see here, scan Snowflake connection catalog, so from here it has queried the Snowflake, and then what shuffle has happened, or how many rows it has read, and then how many rows it has actually executed. So all of these details, actually you can also see it over here. So I hope you understood this, what I'm trying to explain you in terms of your Snowflake federations, and not just Snowflake. In fact, if you go to any, if you want to create a connection to any other catalog as well, so to any other data source as well, you can do that in exactly similar manner, in a very seamless way. You can integrate it, and you can go about using this data. So thank you so much for being till here. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for being till here.